So I'm Brooke Stanton. I'm the Head of Marketing and Communications at William Clark College, and I'm doing the first part of this presentation, and then I'm handing to my colleague Jenny Neville, who's one of my team and is our Communications Coordinator. Jenny is actually 100% of a resource on our Schoolbox instance, so we're very fortunate to have Jenny as a dedicated resource for us. A little bit about William Clark College. We're a P12 college located in Sydney's northwest, quite a booming area. We're getting a new rail line, so growth is going to continue. We have around 1,600 students, around 250 staff, and we have around 2,200 parents, around 1,000 families, and we're continuing to grow at a very fast rate. So we're only 30 years old, so next year's our 30th anniversary, so a young school, I guess, as well. And we've actually just gone through a major period of change, as well as launching our Schoolbox instance. So this year saw the start of a new headmaster. Our previous headmaster was there for nearly 16 years, so this year we've had a new headmaster. With that has come a new strategic plan, which looks very different to the previous strategic plan, and that will take us through to 2021. We've relaunched our brand because obviously we have a new headmaster, a new vision. Next year we're going into a new structure, which I know another school also mentioned. So we're currently junior school, middle school, senior school, and next year we're reverting back to a traditional primary secondary model, so we're going through that change as we speak. And foolishly, perhaps, we also launched our Schoolbox instance this year in addition to all our other change, but that's because the journey for us in Schoolbox has actually been over several years, and going live was always scheduled to happen this year, regardless of a new headmaster and a new vision and a new strategic plan. So it has all happened for us in 2017. The focus of our presentation today, we're actually going to be focusing on Schoolbox and we call it Connect internally, as I know many of you have your own names for it, as a parent communication tool. So as of this year, we actually have done away with how we used to previously communicate with parents, and everything that we say and do and send out to parents is actually through Connect, which, as I mentioned, is our Schoolbox instance. So that will sort of be the focus for Jenny and I today. Now, you will all see on your desks you have a yo-yo. We did debate fidget spinners, but we thought we're probably more of a yo-yo generation type group. And the reason we came across the yo-yos, and feel free to take them away, give them to your children, do whatever, was when Jenny and I sat down to do the presentation, and we found this clip, and I'll just play it. It repeats 5 times, and we were doing a bit of searching, and we felt like this perfectly summed up our journey with Schoolbox. Not necessarily in a bad way, but I guess with yo-yos, there's highs, there's lows, and certainly just when we feel like we've got it mastered and could probably film ourselves, we smash ourselves in the face, or something changes internally and we're almost back to square one. So we thought we'd order yo-yos for you all because we felt that best summed up our experience. Highs, lows, just when we feel like we've mastered the art of Schoolbox and the complexities that brings with it. We're back to square one thinking about it. So enjoy your yo-yos and what you do with them. As mentioned, I'm going to briefly just focus on our Schoolbox journey to date, just tell you very briefly about our strategic aims, and also what we did to generate awareness about the change. Because as I mentioned, we've come from a previous head of 16 years. The college looks very different to how it used to look, and how we communicate with going live with the way we're doing parent communication through Schoolbox is rapidly different. So I just want to take you briefly through how we got parents on board with this major change, and it continues as I speak. We haven't certainly mastered it. And then I'm going to hand to Jen, and she's going to speak more about how we do connect on a daily basis and how we manage the major change and who champions that internally. Our journey, and I'm trying to keep our presentation fairly simple and just using some graphics to take you through our journey. When we did a parent survey back in 2013, so that's how long this has been sort of, unfolding for us. And back in 2013, it became very apparent that our parents were extremely frustrated with how we did communication. They didn't know whether they received communication in our old traditional newsletter, whether it would be via SMS, whether they might get a note in their bag. Some staff members emailed emailed them. So from this survey, they were saying, and we have many parents across 3 sub-schools, 200 and something, that have a child in junior, middle, senior. So you can imagine the volume of information they're getting and their frustration. So we knew in 2013, so we started doing research then, and then we decided that we would repeat it in 2015. Was it just a one-off? Was it just that year? Were they just a little bit frustrated? But again, the headmaster and I in 2015 ran the same communication audit, I guess, and it revealed pretty much the same thing, that parents were like, please just give us a one-stop shop, we're completely overwhelmed. And so that's where our first research started, where we started looking at solutions, I guess, that could best meet our communication needs, particularly on a daily basis. We also brought in an external company, and that had both pros and cons, but we hired a company that came in and did a complete communication audit, and this took months, of our current situation. And what we ended up with, and I can't say I've read it from cover to cover, it was a 700-page report on who issues communication, how communication's sent out, who owns different facets of communication within the college, who has the final say if something's coming from, one person over another. But it was very helpful in sort of, shaping to us the direction that we needed to go and giving us really clear insights into what our current problems were, what our challenges were, and how, when we designed Schoolbox, that we would design it so that we could, I guess, narrow in all the chains of communication that were currently happening, particularly in a college of our size. So we did the external audit, as I said, and one of the other things I'll mention, in addition to the 2 surveys that we did, as well as the external company that helped us sort of pull together how we were currently communicating, it has always been an executive-led project, and that's one of the most important things I think I can say, is it has always been an agenda, the Schoolbox project, communication, on our executive agendas. So myself and the head of IT have championed the project, but we have made it deliberate that every time our executive team come together, we're always talking about it, we're always discussing it, they're all aware of what's happening, so that staff feel that it's led from the top down. From speaking with other schools on their journey, they certainly reiterated that when it's not got buy-in from the top team, it really struggles to take on and be adapted, I guess. So it continues to remain an agenda item as we speak, and I think that's the only way it can go moving forward. And as well as it being an executive-led project, we do have a core team, and I know someone else spoke about that earlier today, and I'm sure many of you are hearing similar things as the sessions go on. But we have a weekly meeting, sometimes a daily meeting, depending. But myself, the head of IT, Jenny, our communications coordinator, our graphic designer, our gentleman who runs the LMS side, and sometimes some of the IT, we meet often, and often for hours, just navigating how we're doing Connect as a whole, but particularly the challenges we're seeing from the communication point and how we navigate that, how we deal with parents, and we go through that, and that's really helpful, those core team meetings. So I guess our initial research, the external communication audit that we did, the executive buy-in, have certainly shaped, I guess, our thinking and our discussion around designing Connect to meet our daily needs. Last year we pretty much had Connect live, Schoolbox live, but we had it as a soft launch for a whole year where we had different people trialling it, we were looking at it, and then in term 1 this year we rolled it out to staff and students, and then in term 2 this year we rolled it out to parents as their pure communication tool. So we're only really a term and a half into this journey with parents, so to speak, with them being live as it being their communication tool. But in fact, really, the journey for us to coming to this point probably started in 2013. I just put these icons up really quickly. There's something we use internally, and we remind ourselves of these often. These were sort of our strategic aims around developing Schoolbox and around parent communication. And I guess the first one is around developing a consistent and integrated approach to the communications and the processes and the informations that we send out to parents. The second one is around it being safe and secure. So we do a lot in the way of photo permissions and all that to ensure that parents feel confident when using it. The third one's obviously around targeted information, and that's something that came out very clearly in their research to us and is something that still comes up. Parents that have 2, 3, 4 children, they are saying to us that they only want to hear about what concerns them, and if they want to read the other information, they'll read it, but their lives are so busy, please give us targeted and relevant information. The fourth icon there that we often refer to with staff and with parents is around timely information. So again, some of the criticisms that came out in our parent surveys earlier in the years was about, you can't send us something the day before an event. We just, if we miss it, we don't like it, we need more notice to plan, so we're committed to timely information. And the fifth one is obviously around enhancing. So obviously one of our core goals has to be around using Connect or Schoolbox to enhance, not only communication, but the relationship between the home and the college, which we all know is of critical importance. Now, before I go on and hand to Jenny, I just wanted to take you through what we did very briefly to let parents know that Schoolbox was coming, that the way that they were used to communication coming to them was going to look very different. And we were very conscious that some of these parents, particularly the ones in the older years, were used to receiving the traditional parent newsletter, and the junior school parents were used to receiving the letter in the bag. So we started in about term 4 last year and continued that all through term 4 and term 1, pretty much an awareness campaign. So we had a letter go out from the headmaster. At that point, they were used to receiving letters that said, this change is coming. It's coming from the top and you need to be mindful of it. We did a weekly feature in our old traditional parent bulletin, which had each week we chose something different to focus on that was a feature of Schoolbox or Connect. So this is how you receive information. This is how you can manage your notifications. This is how you'll receive information on excursions. We did parent events, and I know a few other people have touched on that throughout the day. So every opportunity that there was, we had a Connect kiosk, as we call them at the college. So if it was off the back of a junior school disco or a parent-teach interview night, we would have a huge Connect stand where parents could come to us and say, what is this change we've been hearing about? How does that look? How will I access? And they were interested in the learning management side. How will I access exam timetables and reports? But also, how will they receive information from the college? And just in the next 2 weeks, when Jenny and I return back to Sydney, we have another 7 kiosks planned at all different times, some in the evening, some during the day, some early morning at drop-off. So parents, as we change, and as I said, we're only a term and a half into this being our communication tool for parents, can drop in and just ask us questions. They don't have to book in, we're just available for these hour time slots. We did a staff Connect themed morning tea, and this was quite a big deal that our current headmaster championed. So we had Connect balloons, we had Connect 4, there were people playing Connect 4 left, right and centre. We had Connect themed food, and basically it was just saying this is change is coming. As staff, you need to be aware of this because parents are going to start using this language. And we did a few of these just so our internal, obviously, our staff could see that this was a big deal and that they needed to get on board because it was going to change the way that they not only managed their classroom but communicated with our key parent body. And we also did a really hard social media campaign, and I'm just about to show you one of the clips that we used. So for all of term 1, each week we had a big feature. We know we have different audiences on our social channel, but we know that's also how a lot of parents receive information in today's day and age. So each week we did a feature, this is coming, and then it culminated in a little video which we'll hopefully play, which looked a little bit like this. So we did that at sort of the end of term 1, but we found a lot of our parents, as much as we'd like them to receive information the way we want them to, they're often on social media, and we found that this had a lot of traction, and parents that had their, their eyes closed and are like, I haven't seen anything about Connect, which we often hear, and we were like, how could have you not possibly heard anything? We're like, right, okay, and so we found that social was a really effective channel for sort of wrapping it all up. So I'll hand over to Jenny now, who'll focus, as I said, more about how we actually designed our dashboard to meet parent needs. But one thing I will say before I hand over to Jen is it has been a huge change for us, and I by no means think that we've mastered it. It's certainly in its early days. As I said, for parents particularly, we're only sort of a term and a half in, and like with any major project, we have those early adopters, those parents that are still undecided whether they like it, and those parents, and there's only a few of them, thankfully, that we constantly hear from, how do I do that, how do I do this? But certainly we've felt that the Connect Connect kiosks that we have developed and that we've got 7 of over the next fortnight are the best way to reach them, so that those that are struggling with the change can just drop in and have a chat to us. So I'll hand to Jenny, and happy yo-yoing.
Thanks, Brooke. So I'm Jenny, and yes, I am full-time on Connect. I spend my day looking at that dashboard and putting information in, taking information out, transferring information, but I have a very strong team of women behind me that do a lot of the work, so I'm going to talk a lot about them. What I wanted to say to you, though, is my goal is for no parent or staff member or student to say, I didn't know about that. Don't you just hate that saying, I did not know about that? I put things in so many places on Connect that a parent cannot miss it. So I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to briefly touch on engagement as well and give you our levels of engagement. And this is our plan for today. So I'm going to talk also about how we prepared our staff for Connect and how we prepared them for change. I'm going to show you our Connect dashboards and designs. You all know that the different roles have different platforms. They look at different things, and I'll show you what ours looks like. And I'm going to look at Connect as a communication tool and how we use it daily to get information out to parents. I want you to have a look at your yo-yos, and I want you to start to yo-yo with your other hand. So your less dominant hand. Can you yo-yo with your less dominant hand? Some of you aren't even going to try because you're going to go, Jen, that's hopeless. I'm not going to do that. That's just rubbish. Not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. That's how some parents feel about Connect. I'm not going to do it. Others of you are giving it a go. You're going to go, I'm going to try. I'm going to try really hard. But you know what, that's too hard, I'm just going to put it down. Don't worry about it. Others of you, I can actually see some of you might have been searching on YouTube now, and you're going, I'm really going to learn to do this. I'm going to give it a go, and I'm going to really learn to do this. And they're the parents that are your champions. They're the ones that you want feeding information to other parents saying, Connect is awesome, get on board. You need those champion parents to be able to get behind you and encourage not only you, but encourage other parents to get on board with Connect. So can I encourage you to learn to yo-yo with your other hand? There are a lot of benefits in doing that. One thing that we really worked on is change. We understand that Schoolbox, or introducing a system like Schoolbox, is a massive change to your parents, to your staff, and to even our students. And one of the things that we have been dedicated in, and we've been focused in making it happen. We haven't been lapsed. There's not a day goes by when we don't talk about it. We don't put it into our language. We built excitement around it, and I think that's probably a very big thing that you need to do. As Brooke mentioned, morning teas, you need to get your staff excited about it. There's this saying that I read when I was preparing for this: the first step towards change is awareness, and the second step is acceptance. You need people to get on board, you need people to accept that it's coming, and then they'll move ahead with it. It's funny when you think about change, why something that can bring so much excitement and so many benefits to your business, why do some people, and I'm talking parents and staff, view it as something that is not easily embraced, and even an apathy behind it? So you have to really get on board, and so much of this project is about change management. One of the things we learnt early on is also to equip staff. I like to call a group of women that I've been working with our informal leaders. And these are people that know your business, they know your audience, or they know their audience because they're talking to their parents, and they know how to get things done. These are the people that I really liken them to. You've got your head of your sub-schools, and that's great, but the people behind the head of sub-schools are the ones that really get things done. So I call these women our content owners. I meet with our content owners every week. I chat to them every single day. Sometimes I chat to them 4 or 5 times a day. And these are the women that get this information, our daily communication needs out to our parents. As Brooke said, we have over 2,200 parents, 294 of those parents are across 2 sub-schools. So you could imagine the amount of information that we have going out on Connect on a daily basis. Now, these women know their audience, they know how to get this information out, but what we did do was extensive training with them, and this started back in term 4 of last year. Term 1 we rolled out to staff and to students, but in term 1 I expected these people to run Connect as if it was live to parents already. So they were inputting every piece of communication into Connect as if it was live in term 1. This gave us a system that we could give some really good usability testing to. We had a group of parents across a good cross-section of the college come in and actually ran really rigid usability testing with them. We got them to use the interface, we gave them the login to take home, we asked them how they're receiving their communication, what they liked, what they didn't like. So that period of usability testing was really helpful for us. But these women are really important. So if you don't have people like that, then you need to look at who is currently in your business that is feeding the information out, and you need to get them on board and train them. A big priority of ours have been slow and steady. We haven't introduced this in a hurry. It's been slow and steady. We've prioritised our training, and we've also supported our staff. As you can see, they've got a coffee in front of them there. I shout them personally a coffee every week, and if it's been a really tough week, we have a pink iced cupcake. And it's my way of saying to them, we're in this together. I'm not going to let you take this on alone. I understand that you have so many parents to talk to and so much communication to get out there. I'm here and we're going to do this together. We look at each piece of information that goes out from the college. We make sure we know who the audience is. We make sure that we know if it's done timely. We have a saying that's called ample notice. We need to make sure that we give our parents ample notice. And if something is not given to parents in ample notice, then we look at why to make sure that it hasn't been done again. We also look at each page that we set up. If we have information on a page, we look at the statistics behind each page. I'm not sure if many of you use that feature. When you set up a page, you can look at how many views you've got on that page. Our head of IT, Matt, delves a lot deeper into the analytics side and provides us with a report each week on the analytics of our pages. But with these stuff here, I actually show them how many views they're getting on the pages that they're putting information up on. We look at our engagement levels. We make sure that if it's a parent-teacher interview, if we're running a night tonight, we've actually got middle school parent-teacher interview. This is the first time we've run a middle school parent-teacher interview where parents have had to log on to Connect, sign up, and the engagement's been really good. Our numbers have not dropped, so we know parents are actually using it. We've done lots of reminders. The news feature with being able to place news on Connect and set the time and the date that you want news to go to is really good. You don't have to post news on a particular day. You can set it in advance, which is really helpful. One of the biggest things for me as the communications coordinator is realising that success of Connect was kind of out of my control. I was handing it basically over to this team to get the information out for me. So I had to make sure that I trained them really well. So again, slow and steady, prioritising training and supporting them all the way. And these women, our content owners, post on behalf of teachers and on behalf of our leaders. So that means that your teachers teach and your leaders lead. And that's another thing that we found really important. Okay, we're going to have a look at Connect. This is our Schoolbox instance, and this is our parent dashboard. Do you have a mic that I can use in my room? Just so that I can see it too. So as you can see, it's a pretty basic dashboard. We haven't made a lot of fuss about our dashboard. We've got our top menu that gives timetable, calendar, news, documents and excursions. Documents is where you can view your child's reports, and that goes back into time as well, so you can view past reports. Excursions is that, it's excursions. They can sign off excursions. I'm not going to talk on excursions because they irritate me, because they're not mobile responsive. We have not got that step yet. I don't know if any of you use synergetic forms. If you do, you feel my pain. But this is the last kiosk that we had for parents was what we call our Big Fun Day Out, which was our fair. And this was the number one gripe that parents had, was that our excursions are not mobile responsive. Everyone's got it on their phone. They want to be able to tick off their excursion, but they can't. But what we've done is when we put an excursion note out, we say that this is best viewed on a laptop or on a tablet. And parents are slowly getting onto the fact that they can't do their excursions on mobile responsive devices. But in chatting to Matt, our head of IT, I believe that there is some changes in the wind. So I will excuse him for that and I will keep pushing forward. We have our quick links, report an absence, update family info, order lunch. I don't know if any of you have an order lunch system, but we have Munch Monitor, so that clicks right through to Munch Monitor. You can book in and out of vacation care and before and after school care. Contact us is just phone numbers. Online payments, takes them straight through to paying for fees, paying for things like Father's Day breakfast, Father's Day gifts that we've just come up. You can view timetables, calendar, due work and grades for your children. I'm not going to speak on the LMS side. Rowan will be here tomorrow, who is our LMS champion. We have just brought out being able to view feedback, so that's where parents can do that. Then they have their left-hand menu. News, which is our global news. So anything that we want to say to parents and say globally sits on the dashboard. Now, we have not mastered news. We are the first to admit that we have not mastered it. We are still working on getting news right. Connect is ever evolving and it will be evolving. It's not going to go away. It's going to stay with us, and I think that it will change and it will grow. I was just speaking to Inda before, saying that I would love everybody's news to be personalised on this dashboard. So my news would look completely different to Brooke's news if I was a parent, but it's there. I liken a dashboard to a front page of a newspaper. You only read what's on the front page, really. It's nice to know that you've got the other pages to read to if you want to, but when you're in a hurry, you just want to know what's on the front page of your newspaper. So that's my goal for news, to make every single dashboard unique so that your news appears right there on your dashboard, and that's something that we're going to work towards. We also use our calendar. I'm not sure how many of you use the calendar function, but the calendar is unreal. The calendar has such a dynamic function in there. You can put pictures in there. All the information that is in your news you can also use in your calendar. And the calendar is that we've put a 10-day scrolling calendar on every parent's dashboard, and then it's of course duplicated on the top button there. So that's what a parent's dashboard looks like. Our student dashboard is a little bit different. They can see their timetables. They also have quick links, student bulletin, library resources. That just gives you an indication there. As a couple of other schools have said, they use digital space for advertising. We do it as well. We don't do external advertising on Connect. We keep it all internal. We often get emails from different people saying, oh, can you promote this? Can you promote that? No, we don't. We use Connect solely for promoting our own events and reminding students of things that are coming up. So you can see our scrolling ads there for students, which are different to parents. We want to advertise things to students that are different. And then we also have our staff dashboard, which again is different. And teaching staff will see something different to admin staff, but I have given you what teaching staff see there. And as you can see, this teacher has a lot of different things on her left-hand menu. So that just gives you an idea of our dashboards there. News, I've touched on news, but in a college our size, we really wanted to make sure that we're talking about news, not noise. There's a huge difference between focusing on what parents want to hear and what we think parents want to hear. So that's why we get together and we actually look at each piece of news that goes out. There's probably not a day that goes by when I don't say to Brooke, what do you think? Is this global news? Is it junior school news only? Is it middle school news? And we have a conversation about it because we're so are concerned that our parents are going to hear too much noise coming from a system like Connect, which I think it has the potential to do. So can I suggest that you really watch the amount of news that's going out, make sure it's news and not noise. We haven't mastered notifications yet either. We actually set our notifications to email digest, so every day at 3 o'clock when a parent is sitting in the car or sitting in the playground, they'll receive an email digest if there is news associated to their group that they are in on that day. And I've also got into the habit of checking that actually goes out. So I have a Connect email and I just check that it's gone out. I have a look, I make sure it actually didn't go out the other day. I don't know why, but it didn't go out. We changed the time, we set it to 5 o'clock. I sat there and I waited. Sure enough, 5 o'clock ticked over, it went out. So it was 2 hours late one day. So can I suggest that you don't sit there and forget about it? You make sure and you check daily that things are happening. I think we get very caught up in making sure it looks pretty, making sure it looks all good, but you need to make sure that it's actually ticking over. And don't think that your IT staff are going to do that for you. As communications coordinator, I need to make sure that that's all ticking along nicely and happily. So make sure you do that as well. As I've said, we haven't mastered news, but with that group of content owners, we are getting there. I think that our staff have stopped hitting themselves in the head as much as we have, I hope. It was very hard in the first couple of months, and I must admit, I was sitting here last year listening to the presenters, and I was a week into my current role. And I thought to myself, what on earth have I done? I heard words that I had never heard before. Even though I'd been working at the college for 6 years, there was things that I had heard speakers speak about that I had no idea. I thought, what on earth am I doing? How am I going to make this work? But as a team, we sat down and Matt, our head of IT, was here last year, and we dreamed of targeted communications, and we dreamed of the things that Schoolbox could do and the things that it would bring and the advantages that our college could see. And I actually leaned across to him and I said, Matt, we're going to build a system that we're going to be so proud of that next year we're going to present. And sure enough, we're here presenting this year. So thank you for your time today. I hope that we have helped you a little bit in using it as a daily communication tool to parents. So thank you.
So our next presenter is Michele Lazaro from the King David School, Melbourne. Thank you.
Hi everyone. So I am going to come from a different perspective. I am the Director of Learning Technologies and Innovation at the King David School. We are in Armidale, and we are a preschool to Year 12 school, relatively small as well, about 850 students. So my background is I'm a teacher, but I also work with the head of IT, Tom, who's here with us today, and we work together to figure out how we can use what we call My KDS, Schoolbox, for our school. So we've come from an environment, Synergetic School, Google Apps for Education School. We originally, and still do, have a parent portal and a staff portal, and we have My KDS. So when 3 years ago I came into this role, there was no student forum. There was a fully functioning parent and staff portal, which has some amazing functionality, and that is why we are still keeping it and still using it. But that then within itself raises a few issues about what we're using what for. So I'm going to talk mainly from a teacher perspective, also from a parent perspective, and a little bit from the student perspective, where I think, like many other schools, keep it quite simple. Before My KDS, students didn't have a way of getting their electronic timetables handed out to them when it changed and so on, and so now they've obviously got a way to do it. We also have the Digistorm app as well to help students. Okay, so from a teacher's perspective, we wanted to keep it simple. Quick links at the top. We use single sign-on, so parents don't have an issue signing between the two platforms, and staff don't have an issue signing between the two platforms, the student and the staff portal. We've put the staff directory up there, links to other platforms that we use, curriculum mapping and so on. Obviously the timetable is there for staff members. We use the attendance marking within here that goes back into Synergetic. We want to try and avoid our teachers using Synergetic as much as possible because it's a little bit ugly. A lot ugly. So we have a distinction between school news and parent news. This is an RSS feed from our staff portal, which feeds into the parent portal, and it is displayed here as well. We use communication with parents through the parent portal that gets batched to them out daily as well. So this is the school news that is fed an RSS feed from our staff portal, which feeds into the parent portal as well. Calendar has been amazing for everybody all involved, especially the export, being able to overlay it over your own calendars. Parents have really loved that, and staff as well. So all school calendared items are in here as well. So that makes it really easy for everybody to know what's going on. Centralised as to who can put the information out there for the different sub-schools. Attendance and for teachers, when you're given an extra and not being able to mark those roles and having a one-stop shop. So we've got the extras, or the whatever else other schools call them, when you're given a substitute class, that goes on in here, and that is marked like that. We still have the issue of yard duties. We haven't managed to bring in the yard duties yet. We have managed to bring it, into our staff portal, but we haven't managed to bring it into here. So I know there's quite a few of us on the forum that are sort of begging for that to get in, because I think that would be very useful. Okay. Another big thing for us is being able to, if kids go on instrumental lessons and anything that they're doing appears here for the teachers to be able to see what's going on. So you can see here I've just highlighted that this particular student is at a instrumental music lesson, rather than teachers having to check multiple locations or be aware of lists and things like that. So that has been very useful for teachers. We also have a Synergetic sign-in terminal at the reception locations, and when the kids open their MyKDS app, it has their barcode that they can just scan in, and then that information also appears for the teacher when they're marking their role. So so-and-so's late, or so-and-so's at the learning support, or whatever it may be. So so the teachers... We're trying to minimise the amount of follow-up that teachers have to do, and awareness of really where the kids are, and putting some ownership over the kids to sort of sign in and sign out. We have different uses for MyKDS across the school. Preschool to Year 5, it's open for the parents to see the learning journeys, and notifications. I don't know if people were in the session before about notifications and parents actually being notified when things are going on. We're using that new CSV functionality that was mentioned before. So parents are notified when there's information posted, photos, news updates, things like that. So that is Preschool to Year 5. Then from Year 6, it's closed, and they can really only see grades and the notifications and things that come on the side of MyKDS. The challenging part is parents with kids in different sub-schools, and what they can see and what they can't see. So what the high years, the top child, they're my nieces and nephews, so I have no problem using them. I'll just step over here. There are no home pages for them to see, so there's nothing to see in there. And then the home page, if there is a home page, they can see it there. A little bit tricky for parents to find if they're going through a iPhone view, or a phone view, or the app. So that's something we're working on as well. And I know with the new release of the Digistorm app, they've got My Classes functionality, but that doesn't really work if you've only got kids in the senior school and they'll click on My Classes and it won't actually work. So figuring out different kind of dashboards for different people. So that is the parent's perspective, and again, you know, linked to the parent portal on the top there and things like that. Notifications, obviously a big thing, and informing parents and students and staff on setting their notifications, which there's a lot to set for good or bad, and that's a challenge for, I think, maybe all of us. So a little bit of an overview from me, but I also think these sessions are really useful when people also say what they're doing at their school, if people are doing some different things that can give other people ideas. So sharing is caring. So does anyone have anything that they want to share that they think works really well at their school? Because I know I find that in these sessions that's really useful for me, so maybe that's useful for other people too. Anyone? Yeah.
Actually, I don't have any help on a question.
Yeah.
So you've got sort of 3 different portals running, which makes sense. Have you got any feedback from parents? You know it's hard for them to say, why am I doing here and there? But any feedback from parents about it?
Yeah, parents have questioned us, but we've made the distinction that My KDS is where the learning takes place and the parent portal is the administrative stuff. So it's where they sign the excursion forms, update the medical information, book their parent-teacher interviews, things like that. So over time, I see hopefully as Schoolbox develops further and brings in some of those, the great functionality we have in our other systems, I see it coming together, but it is the clear distinction between this is what you do in this platform and this is what you do in the other platform, and that's why single sign-on has been so important for us, just that seamless flow through. Yeah.
Another question, do you maintain a web page as well with notifications and events and things?
So we use the calendar for events that we want parents to know about in terms of excursion. That all happens in our parent portal. So an excursion gets entered into the portal, and then, you know, at the end of the day, it's sort of all batched out. So I get an email with the things that are related to my kids. I click on the link, it takes me straight to the parent portal. So because we had all of this functionality that is working really well prior to having any learning management system, we've kept that. Yep. So we use Timetabler behind it. So, sorry, I should have added that. We use Timetabler, and there's an automatic feed, or whatever you call it. I'm not the technical person. Sync. There's an automatic sync. It's actually every 15 minutes from like 7:15 right through to sort of 10 o'clock in the morning. And so if something's updated in Timetabler, it feeds through to Synergetic and then it just appears here. Yeah. Synergetic can help you set that up if you want. Cost you some money, but that's okay.
Just a question about both you guys again. Thank you very much. Targeted news. Talking about targeted news as being important. How are we actually? To what level do you target news? Are you using the UPS and the groups and things like that? Schoolbox.
So that's why I'll speak, and then guys can go. That's why we use the parent portal, because the parent portal just feeds it straight into Synergetic. We don't need to create groups and things like that. So teachers actually upload their information to who it's going to go to, and then we have a community relations person that authorises it once a day. They go through, check the language, things like that, and then that just gets batched out. So that school news you saw is essentially our newsletter. And then the parent portal pushes out the directed news. You wanna?
So global news is whole college, then we have middle school, which is middle school parents, which we set groups up for. Students are also included in global news. We have student bases as groups as well, so we can address students at their level, and that's middle school. So we've created groups so that news can go out targeted.
So I'm thinking of going even further than that, like down to sports groups.
Yes. The issue that we have though is that a lot of our co-curricular groups, even though we can create groups within Schoolbox, unless they're timetabled, we can't email the parents directly from Connect. We need to sort that issue out. That's with IT at the moment. So you know when you go into a class page and you can email parents from your class page, that is because they're a timetabled class. We need to, our co-curricular structure is a little bit messy at the moment, and we need to have them set up as classes before we can start to use it to that extent. Exactly.
And that's where I say that Schoolbox really needs to develop this a lot further rather than relying on, schools have different infrastructure and different human resources. We don't have a lot of human resources, and that's why, if all of this stuff is created in Synergetic, I don't want to have to recreate the groups. I don't have time, not interested. So I think they've got to pick that up.
Could you expand a little bit on how you organise the instrumental music lessons? You said they...
Yeah, so, and we're actually, next week, I'm pushing very hard for learning support to do that as well. So the instrumental, we've got, the arts manager creates the class, the music class in Synergetic and the music type, and then the instrumental teacher, it's under staff schedule maintenance. They just plonk in the kids when they want them, and they can, they can copy week to week or do whatever. Literally, it's just drag and drop. So if they only teach 10 kids, it literally takes them 10 seconds, and then that just appears. Nothing we need to do.
I just wanted to ask, sorry, the other presenter, sorry, I forgot your name. Do you still use the school newsletter? Pardon? Do you still use the school?
No, not do school newsletter anymore.
Thank you.
Some would say we went cold turkey, and I think we did, but no, we don't do school newsletter anymore.
Thank you.
That's not to say that we don't get parents asking where's the school newsletter.
Give them last year's.
Yeah.
I have a question for both of you. For both schools, was the push for Schoolbox from the teaching and learning side of things or from the marketing and communication side of things?
For William Clark, it was initiated from the marketing and communications side in terms of we were doing that parent research initially, and then from that we realised that we couldn't operate in isolation and it couldn't be a siloed approach, so that's when we engaged learning. We used to use Moodle for our learning management side, and they were looking for a new solution anyway. Same with the staff intranet, so it was kind of initiated from my area, but then everyone was just waiting for that catalyst, I guess, to say yes, it's time, and we all sort of came together. But initially it was as a result of our initial research from William Clark.
And we're the opposite. So we had a fully functioning parent communication system for 6, 7, 8 years, even including the excursion notices. So I was coming from the learning side, and I think especially the great feedback we've gotten, and we are going to move to full continuous reporting middle of next year. I've got one more season of other reporting, but that instant information for the parents about how the kids are tracking, don't have to pick up the phone and make a phone call. They've got the information right there.
And how have you found your marketing department? I mean, obviously, at William Clark, the marketing department's starting it. You've got to get the teachers on board. You've got the teachers on board. How do you go about getting the marketing department?
It's a slow process, and we work together, we can't move over until there's an authorisation process. We don't have teams of people putting in the news. We rely on the teachers to put in the news. We've got language teachers that don't always get it right, and that is what it is. And even English teachers don't get it right. So until we've got a solution that we can replicate what we've got in Schoolbox, we're staying where we are, and that seems to be working.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Hang on, just give me a sec. Can I have Tom as well on the stage?